Hello, autograph addicts. Kevin Martin again from Piece of the Past. Talking about values of autographs. Well, we could spend weeks and weeks to try to teach you what we've learned in 41 years, but here's what you need to know. First of all, an autograph is worth what anyone's willing to pay. That's true. However, there are standards, right? So you might walk into a gallery, say in Las Vegas, where they're paying thousands of dollars a square foot to be off of some casino, and you'll see some normally $200 item for $2,000. Do they sell it? Sometimes they do. Somebody wins at the crap table or something, stumbles in there and says, oh, I'd like that John Wayne on my wall, and he buys it. Does that mean John Wayne now is always worth $2,000? No, it does not. What something's worth is what the average person, average collector is willing to pay time and time again for it. Now, of course, if we're talking about content, something very, very rare, there's something about your item that's different than any other item in that category, then you've got to start thinking about how that's going to affect the value, if at all. But supply and demand is just that. It's supply and demand, both. It was never supply or demand. That's not the expression. It's supply and demand. Well, what do you mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. I've got autographs that are incredibly rare. Vilma Banky we have in stock. Now, she was the first actress to make $1 million as an actress. She was unbelievable in her time, only rivaled later by Rudolph Valentino. However, nobody alive saw any of her movies. They're not replayed on Saturday night. She doesn't have a new audience. And while she'll always have a historical niche and sell for maybe $100, she is incredibly rare. We've had only 3 or 4 examples in 41 years, but doesn't sell for much. Supply and demand in that case. Then you've got someone like Peter Mayhew, who's never spoken a line of word of dialogue in his life, who's only ever in Star Wars. He was hired simply because he was over 7 feet tall. That was the prerequisite so that he could be the Wookiee Chewbacca. He sat at shows till his dying day, including when I owned the Hollywood show, signing autographs for 30, 40, 50 bucks. Now you might get $100 for one of them. Why? Because of demand, not supply, because he's incredibly common. And if it were just that, then Clint Eastwood and Harrison Ford wouldn't qualify for that quotient, but they do because of demand. You have to have both supply and demand. Only this week we had someone call very irate because a musician that they liked personally because they were a frustrated musician. Well, you don't know how rare he is. Doesn't matter if nobody collects him. Tracy Bingham, the beautiful actress, once at my show when I owned it, the Hollywood show, once said to me, I deliberately take jobs in the science fiction and the horror shows. They may be schlocky. They may only run a season, she says, but it guarantees that I will always, in my off time, be able to sign autographs at shows like yours and make money. Why? Because she knew that genre has those kind of autograph collectors. But there are very famous people. Beau Bridges did our show, for example, once before he was flying out on vacation to Australia. Unbelievably nice guy, unbelievably talented man, over 200 movie credits. Very few people can say that. But did he sell for much? No, because he just never did a movie that captured the autograph collecting zeitgeist, right? So there was nobody there there was no demand, even though it's Beau Bridges, Jeff Bridges, Beau Bridges, but Jeff Bridges is expensive and he's far more common than Beau Bridges. Why is he expensive? Demand. Big Lebowski. He did Iron Man, did a few movies you might have heard of that people wanted to collect. Fabulous Baker Boys, not so much. Sorry, Beau, great actor. Some would say better than the brother, but that's not how it works. I don't set the prices. I just observe them. I've written the price guide since 1996, and we go by sold prices, not what some fool on eBay is asking because they want you to come in and offer half of that anyway, but what they actually sell for commonly. And we show people this, they're still in such deep denial with their items, and I get it. You're trying to either pay a bill or you thought Uncle Bill left you a great inheritance. Only this week, a woman called me and said someone had praised her Michael Jackson autograph on a piece of paper at $14,000. You could buy stage-worn clothing of Michael Jackson for $14,000. So don't hate the player, hate the game. We don't do that. We just pay, and we pay the best. But we pay based on what an item is worth. And that is set by the market, and the market is you. The collectors decide what something is worth by what they're willing to pay. So remember that. We'll talk about the content aspect in a later video. Happy collecting, everybody.